Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I am excited to introduce today's guest, Mike Broadwell. He helps people with specialist knowledge and skill create an information product and marketing campaign based on their unique experience and story. His breakthrough process addresses the inherent flaws in the do-it-yourself marketing program. Mike has created multiple joint venture JV telesummits and workshops and has a broad background with more than 20 years of technical sales and 10 years in online marketing. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Tammy. It's good to be here.
Great. I am really excited about speaking with you and the breakthrough process. Can you tell me how you came about this breakthrough process and what it is?
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of an evolution of, like I say, about 10 years online marketing, kind of learning the hard way, which is probably how you did it, I would guess. Most of us came up that way. And as I learned things and had some successes and some failures, like many of us do, and then pretty big successes, and then followed by some other things, I really wanted to examine how marketing was taught, and I didn't like a lot of the way it was done. And I also went to several events where experts were, kind of training people how to be an online expert. And they'd have a lot of great small business people and really talented people there. And I would see them struggling so much, just it's almost like they would gloss over what they were trying to sell and then jump into the technical stuff and get lost in the weeds. And it just seemed to me that they weren't taking the time to really understand who they were, what they were offering, and really get clarity on that. And I just have always found I'm pretty good at that sort of thing. And so that led to me eventually finding a specialist in probably one of the top minds I've ever run across, who developed a whole process of how we think and understanding how we think and restructuring that. And so that all came together in the process of working in terms of breakthroughs as opposed to just results, where results are kind of like you pass a test and you think you might know something, but then as most of us know, we get out of college and realize we know very little about what we're trying to do in our jobs, because taking tests and actually making things work in the real world are two different things. And so a breakthrough is something that you really get clarity and ownership of, and in a sense master, before you move to the next step. And once you have that mastery or that strong foundation, you can build on that without, worry or concern. So that's kind of the core concept, is to really start with what's the most important, get really clear about it, have a very strong foundation, and then you can confidently build on it and go out from there and, dive into the technical things if you need to, without the instability of, well, I'm not even sure what I'm doing, and now I'm trying to figure out how to do it,
Right.
That plagues so many of us.
When you talk about a breakthrough, one of the things that I notice about the people that I talk with a lot is they don't want to take the time to get clear about who they are and what they're doing, who their ideal client is or their target. What have you discovered? Why is that? And why do you think people are attracted to thinking that the technology is what they really need to focus on?
I think a lot of it's just a product of our society, that we're in this kind of instant gratification society. Take a pill to make me feel better, or get instant results, or more and more that's what we're promised and pushed into, is all this instant oatmeal, instant coffee, instant results. And it's a flaw in how we think, in that we really don't think properly about what's important. It'd be like if I was a matchmaker and you said, well, I would like a husband. And I say, okay, how tall, what color hair, what kind of job, and how much does he weigh? You'd say, well, wait a minute. That's not really enough, But But why would we think that about something we're offering to people? And I think the other thing is very few of us have the ability to be objective in any way. We're very subjective about ourselves and objective about other people. And that's just the nature of being a human being. And it's very hard to think about in marketing. You're pretty much looking at everything inside out. You're looking at how do people see me and understand me? And a big thing is if I'm communicating something and you don't understand it, what I tend to do is get mad at you, like, well, you're not paying attention or you're not smart or something, but really it's all about me. I'm not communicating it properly. If you're not getting it, I'm the one that's not understanding how to communicate it to you, and I should take that responsibility. And so I think that's the key thing, is to really market yourself. You have to understand, how does the customer see you? And they're not going to take the time and figure out what you're asking or what you're trying to tell them. I remember being in Paris many years ago and trying to talk to the Parisians, and people say they're rude, but what I kind of figured out is I don't think they're rude as much as they don't make any effort to figure out what you're trying to ask them. If you don't ask them the exact thing, they will answer whatever they hear you say, and they won't try to figure it out. And that's the same way when somebody comes to a website or comes to your marketing materials. If they get it all lost or confused, they just click right away because there's a billion other options out there. And so that's why it's so essential to get clear on your message and who you are. And even more than that, once you know that and they're solid in it, you can build on that. Then if you do run into a challenge about something you don't know about it, maybe a technical thing or something else that comes up, you're not overwhelmed by it because you have a core message. And when you believe in that message and it's a powerful message, you're ready to go tell the world about it. Obstacles just aren't the same, right? It's like saving your child from a danger. No obstacle is going to stand in your way. You're not going to say, well, I don't really know if I can do that. You got to do everything you can to save that child. And if you have a message and if you're really doing something important and of great value and you believe in it and you're clear about it, you're going to go out there and tell people about it, and you're going to overcome the obstacles much more readily than if you just aren't really sure what you're doing to start with, and then you're confused now because you don't know how to put the website up or, do your autoresponder, do your Facebook ads or whatever. So that's, excuse me, that's a big part to me, is that clarity just creates that stable foundation that you can work from with confidence, and it just comes across to people.
So you call your business Breakthrough Factory. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if I were interested in having these massive breakthrough, which to tell you the truth, I really, really am, because I know that one of the things that I struggle with is getting that clear idea of what my unique strengths are and even what my unique weaknesses are. How would you say, do you have a system, or could you give our audience maybe 1 or 2 or 3 steps of maybe the process that you would go through with them to get that breakthrough clarity? What's the first step?
Well, the first step is actually to take away the biggest stumbling block people have, which is the technical details. So when somebody comes to me, I will put up their website for them and actually provide, say, a membership product delivery area that's done for them. I mean, it's not a custom boutique thing. They still have to learn to kind of how to put the content on it. But basically, it's like I want to take that out of their mind as being a worry, how to do the technical stuff. Just push it aside. And so that's the very first process, is just clearing out of your head the concern over the least important part of the process. And then we immediately from there, we go to the first breakthrough, which is that. Who am I? What do I really have to offer? And what's the unique way that I have to offer it? Because you're right, none of us can be objective about ourselves. It takes maybe there's some writers or some philosophers out there that have kind of reached that sort of clarity, or, Buddhas or gurus or something. But for the average person, we're just not objective. We're extremely subjective. And one of my favorite quotes is from the philosopher Kierkegaard. He says, our problem is we're subjective about ourselves and objective about everybody else, very harshly objective. And the whole goal is to be subjective about others and objective about ourselves. And I thought that was a brilliant way to look at things. But really, if you're trying to take a program, and there's some great do-it-yourself programs out there, you've probably done some of them. They're really nice strategies, and if you follow them, they can work for you fine. But they can't give you objective guidance. So the first part of my program is I actually work one-on-one to provide that objectivity, which only a coach or a mentor can provide. That's why we have counselors and coaches and therapists. They really aren't, pulling stuff out of the ether. They're just usually seeing the obvious that we're so caught up in that we just can't see. In a case of like a marriage counselor, what do they see? Is like, well, it's obvious what you two are doing, but you're so wrapped up in this energetic, emotional thing that you can't see the obvious. And it's the same way when I look at someone and I see I'm like a consumer coming to them, and I can see, oh, okay, well, this is a real strength you have. One of my clients, I look at her, and we were in a Periscope group together, and I'd say, you're like the all-American girl next door. You're just lovely. You have these two little children, and she looked at him. We were doing a blab session, and she looked at one and said, no, you're going to go into timeout. And it was the most sweet, loving expression I'd ever seen in the way she taught that child that. And I said, you just need to get on video. You need to just be out there where people can see you, because you just come across as this adorable person. And she had no video on her site. I mean, she hadn't seen that. It was just obvious. And so a lot of it is obvious, but as you know, especially with marketing, it's a series of discovering the obvious, right? As soon as you learn something, you go, oh, geez, well, that was obvious. Why didn't I see it? But we don't see it because it's just we're so caught up in doing things and moving through life that we just need that outside intervention. And so until you get that clear, like you say, you're never really sure what you're doing from there. And the other real benefit of it is for a small business owner and practitioner, you've got a regular full-time gig that you need to focus on. You can't spend all your time spinning your wheels trying to learn all this marketing. And if you want to make the effort to get on TV or to get on the newspapers and you put yourself out there everywhere to be seen as some expert, that takes away from your core competency. And that could fail. I mean, I'm sure Oprah has 1 million people applying for everyone that she puts on TV. And that is just a complete waste of time if you don't succeed at it. It's kind of a high risk, high reward outcome. If you take my process, the goal is you're going to get better at what you do, because the better you understand it and how to communicate it and how to bring your unique perspective to it, you're going to be a better practitioner or a better specialist in what you do. So your marketing is actually making you better at what you do, not taking away from it to do something totally different, like learning how to write a book or how to be on TV or something. So I think that provides a lot of benefit to people. The second stage then is really understanding your core market. Obviously, you need a market that's going to buy what you have. And it's not that hard to figure it out once you really know who you are and what you have to offer. Usually people just want too broad a market, and they need to focus down so they can speak more directly to that market, which is the third breakthrough, is how do I then connect to my market, communicate with the market. And that so much involves your personal experience and your specialty in what you do. You don't have to be an expert or a guru to be helpful. I mean, for instance, say you were on the Atkins diet and you lost 30 pounds and you tweaked it a little bit because it didn't quite work for you, but you figured out a way to really make it work. Well, you don't have to be a weight loss expert. Maybe that's all you know about dieting is you made the Atkins diet work for you. But that could benefit millions of people. So you don't even have to frame yourself as an expert. You're just somebody that had something that you figured out and you made it work. And now it's just a matter of communicating that to people so they trust and understand that you're the one that actually knows what you're talking about. And that's where your unique story and your unique experience needs to be positioned in the way that you present what you're offering. Because people don't really want to figure out how you're going to help them or fix them or give them whatever they want. They want to know that they can trust you and that you will be the one to take them there.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does make a lot of sense. What do you think is the biggest obstacle for people who are trying to have this massive breakthrough? What do you think their biggest obstacle is beyond the technology? I know that, we have the shiny object syndrome where people just keep buying, and they're always in a learning mode. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to having these massive breakthroughs? And can you tell me what your big, massive breakthrough was, that where the lights all went off and you said, oh my God, I think I know how to do this now?
Okay, yeah. Let's see, to start with, where people's biggest obstacles are, I think it really is in confidence, because the thing about marketing that's pretty profound, and a lot of who I work with and have worked with in the past have been kind of holistic practitioners. A lot of the telesummit and joint venture events I put together were in that niche, and they're lovely people, and they're really interesting techniques that are really address things like confidence and self-image and really understanding how the emotions play in and all this in our activities. But they're also some of the most timid and scared people to ever get out and promote what they do. And part of it is because it seems a little weird to a lot of people. And then, of course, it's counter to the medical paradigm that runs everything. So there's a lot of reasons why people are timid about it. But it's really that confidence, and that when you're marketing, you're really out there exposed. You're putting yourself out there for people to either say yes or no. And none of us really like to do that. We don't really like to be judged or to be considered that we failed at something. And if you put something out there as a marketing message and nobody responds to it, that's a cold slap in the face, but it is reality. It is the world giving you very strong feedback that something is not, needs addressing here, or you're not doing something right. And most of us just don't like that, especially in this kind of modern world where we're kind of, sheltered from a lot of that hard knocks thing. So I think that's the big part of it, is we're kind of afraid to really put ourselves out there, and we don't really know how to do it because we're not really taught to dig in and really get deep with that. And so that's the biggest thing, I guess, in my own experience. Well, it's hard to say. I've mostly been in a background person. When I put my teleseminar events together, I was the producer. I was the person that created them, and I recruited the experts, but I had a neighbor and business partner that would do the interviewing. And so I was kind of in the background, and I'm starting to move out as I've decided to kind of move out and put myself out into the marketing realm. I guess my breakthrough has really been following this process myself. When I put my sales page together on the website a few months ago, it just really wasn't very good, even though I've had copywriting training, and I just wasn't, for whatever reason, just could not get into explaining it the way I wanted to. And as I learned more techniques about this breakthrough methodology and how to really counteract how our mind takes us down the wrong path in many ways, I spent about 2 weeks every day working on this sales page and really using my own process, eating my own dog food, as they say. And what I found was it eventually created a momentum, even though it was very difficult at times and frustrating. It got to where my mind would work on it. I would wake up in the morning and I would say, no, I need to completely rewrite that. That's not what I want to say. And I could come in and get on my computer and spend a few hours and rewrite something. And then maybe burn myself out of that creativity for the day and then come back the next day. And it was a 2 or 3 week process before that letter even got honed to the point that it is now. And it's never perfect, but it really got to the point where I thought, yes, this is starting to communicate what I want to say. So it's not an easy process, and we think it's something we can do on a time scale of a day or two or a few hours or just get a template. But, this is something that's going to affect our business for years. And we didn't learn how to do our main trade in 2 or 3 days, hopefully. Staying at a Holiday Inn Express or whatever that TV commercial is. It's not how life works, but somehow we think it should be faster on the internet because the internet seems faster in some way. So I think that was my breakthrough, was just really staying with the process and really waiting for a breakthrough, because when you hit a breakthrough, it's not the same as just, okay, I wrote X number of words and I put in all my keywords and I followed, Gary Halbert's template of how to write a sales letter. No, it's much more than that. You kind of know when you hit that breakthrough and when it starts to really round into form.
Wow. Mike, I think that what you just said is a golden nugget and a beautiful takeaway, because people need to understand breakthroughs don't just happen in a snap of a finger. Your example was a perfect example that it took time and you had to let it come. And it wasn't something that took a few minutes, but it actually took time. And I agree with you. Many of us think that things on the internet should just happen instantaneously. And like you said before, we are expecting this instant success, and life doesn't happen instantly. Where can people go to get more information about your breakthrough process and the Breakthrough Factory?
It's simply just go to breakthroughfactory.com, and that's the main website. You can read about the program. There's a long sales letter under the program details. And I really like that, because that really includes a lot of the elements that I think are so important in getting a message across. And the other thing they can check out is there's a testimonial video from one of my clients on there. And what she did was she sent me she was creating a little opt-in video for a webinar she's going to do. She goes, "What do you think?" And I just wrote back and said, I've been trying to really get her to focus on her own unique story. Because she's from Croatia, she has this kind of Zsa Zsa Gabor accent, and she's a dating coach. And I said, you got to play up this European thing, because that's exotic and people really love that. And she just was trying to be like everybody else out there. So finally, I knew her story, and I just sat down on Skype and just kind of hammered out, said, no, do this. And I wrote a little script out for her, which she took and, she made it her own, but she sent me the video afterwards. And what it really shows is when she got into her real story, because it was her story, I just kind of scripted it in an order I wanted her to tell it in. You can see in those videos the depth that she gets into and how powerfully she communicates that, because it's her story and she connects with it. And it was such a beautiful before and after example of what I'm trying to achieve with people. And one of my other clients, who's a lady in Israel, sent me something that she was changing on the insides by going through this process, that this process is really affecting her in a very deep way. And so it's much more important to really think about, this is a big picture thing. This is our life. Our work should really make us better as people and as human beings. And I think that's a key takeaway that I would like people to really think about. And what you're doing, should make us better people as well as just make us a living.
Wow, that makes me want to rethink everything that I've been doing. So is there anything else that you would like our audience members to know or do that maybe we missed during our conversation?
Well, I would just say a big part, as you examine how you being the general audience, looking at marketing yourself and your business. One is to forget about that it's the internet like it's some magical place. The internet is just a way to connect with people. It's just a medium. People are still people. They still relate to stories and they want to connect. They're really looking for real connection. And so don't make it too hard. Just really start thinking about, how can I connect with people, serve people, and give them something and do something that really matters to me and that makes me feel like I'm contributing in a way beyond just to the economy. And the more you can just connect and realize this is not something out of the blue. It's just if I was going to talk to somebody about anything, I would need to be clear what I was trying to ask them to do or try to offer them. And so don't make it too complicated. Just really get back to basics and think you're communicating with other people here. And how can I do that effectively? And as I tell people as a last thought, if you think about you're having a two-way conversation by yourself, because if you and I were in person here, I could see your reaction to me, what I'm saying, and I could adjust, like, oh, I might have offended her, or maybe I'm confused, or she looks confused. But online, I can't see your reaction. I'm having to carry that conversation. So you have to really make it such that I've got to make sure I'm not confusing my audience, or I'm not upsetting them, or I've got to make it really flow where they get it as if they're giving me that feedback that I don't get in a one-way conversation, like a web page or a video. So really just get clear about communicating and what people need to know, and how can I be very clear and simple and direct in what I say.
Thank you. Today's guest is Mike Broadwell. He helps people with specialist knowledge and skill create an information product and marketing campaign based on their unique experience and story. His breakthrough process addresses the inherent flaws in the do-it-yourself marketing programs, and Mike has created multiple joint venture telesummits and workshops and has a broad background with more than 20 years in technical sales and 10 years in online marketing. This is Tammy Patzer. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.